I am Javier Ojeda. I'm the General Secretary in the Federation of European Aquaculture Producers and also General Manager in the Spanish Aquaculture Association.
Right. So how does it feel to have won the award of European Aquaculture Society Honorary Life Member last year?
Well, I feel humbled, honored, of course, a big surprise because, well, I just do my work for the different associations that I am involved and all my previous work in fish farms, certainly. But for me, having been able to develop my professional life in a work that I love, it's one of the best things that I've been very lucky, and it's the best things I've had the opportunity to do. So receiving this award is a very big honor, certainly, and I will always keep it in my heart.
And you've talked about fish for everyone, and the theme of this year's conference here in Valencia is about aquaculture for everyone. What does that mean for you? What's your vision of fish for everyone?
Well, what was the last part of the question?
What does that mean for you? What's your vision of fish?
Okay. Well, this is a very important message because slowly things have changed over these last decades. And today, if aquaculture did not exist, half of the population would be unable to eat aquatic food, with all the consequences on food security, consequences on the health of the people, and consequences in segregation because fish would be more expensive and only part of the population would be able to afford it. So aquaculture is playing a very democratic role, and it will continue doing it. And aquaculture is what will assure that everybody will have access to fish and other aquatic food.
Okay. How important is aquaculture to Spain as a country?
It's very important. In some regions of Spain, it's more relevant than capture fisheries. In others, no. Considering total proportion, about 20% of the aquatic food production in Spain comes from aquaculture, freshwater and marine, and the rest comes from capture fisheries.
And lastly, what would you say to a young person? We've seen lots of students here over the last couple of days attending the conference here in Valencia. What would you say to a young person starting out their career in aquaculture?
Well, it's a thrilling profession in which you can have a job opportunity in many different fields, from biology, veterinary, engineering, marketing, communication, quality. It's a very diverse source of employment. It has a great future. It's working in nature. It's working with food. That's one of the most important things that a person can do, provide food to their family, friends, colleagues, and society. And it's growing, and it's got lots of challenges, but it's got the basics for us to be a really sustainable part of the food system. So I have enjoyed my profession here. I will continue certainly enjoying it. But for new people that arrive, I can assure that it's worth. It's tough in many occasions. I mean, you have to provide a big dedication because you are working with living creatures in the nature, and that is difficult, or at least you have to be there all the time. But still, it's really worth it, or at least for me, it has been.
Great.
Well, I think it's a well-deserved award. It's the kind of guy that you see in every important place about aquaculture in Europe, and I've always appreciated his very smooth way of talking and making people get together and talk together, and I think he's a really important guy for the development of European aquaculture. So, well-deserved award, and that's for many years.
Carlos Duarte, Distinguished Professor of Marine Science.
Okay, so Carlos, You just gave the keynote presentation at the plenary session 1 here in Valencia, day 1 at Aquaculture Europe. Can you just give a very quick overview of the key themes of your presentation?
So in my presentation that resonates with the theme of the conference, then I elaborated on the global role of aquaculture in feeding a world that is increasingly populated beyond the carrying capacity of conventional food systems, which have been traditionally land-based. And also wild catches have reached a ceiling, so the only opportunity to be able to feed the world in the future and do so with healthy and affordable foods is aquaculture. But in order to meet that promise, aquaculture needs to transition to not only a sustainable model but also a regenerative model by balancing production of fin fish by production of very modest animals such as mussels, oysters, seaweed, that will not only generate directly food, but will generate an ecosystem that will be able to establish circularity in the use of feed and the processing of waste.
And you talked about as well that aquaculture is not a choice, it's an imperative, and you also talked about food production being in the red zone as part of your presentation. What are the challenges, or what are the biggest challenges for the aquaculture sector to overcome to achieve food production in the future?
So I believe that if we do it right as an industry, and research is part of the industry, then in 200 years or 300 years, when history books will look at what was fundamental in the 20th and 21st century, it will not be AI, it will not be internet that will look like child play 200 years from now. It will be aquaculture. It will be the moment when we learn how to produce food from oceans in a controlled and sustainable way. So to be able to fulfill that promise, then we need to evolve towards sustainable and regenerative aquaculture that requires to close the loop of feed within the farm rather than depend on subsidies from either land or wild catches. And it also needs to preserve the health components of the marine food diet into the products.
And you talked as well about potential negative public perception of the aquaculture sector and of the aquaculture sector compared to, for example, the agriculture sector. Why do you think that is? Why do you think there is potential negative public perception of the aquaculture sector? And what does the sector need to do to collaborate to improve the perception of its sector?
Yeah, so then the work towards developing that new model of aquaculture and fulfill its role at the planetary scale requires an important contribution from communicators to be able to communicate to the public the benefits of aquaculture, the reality of aquaculture, and counterbalance misperceptions. For instance, the public have come to accept that we have transformed about 2/3 of the planet, of the land area for agriculture, for food production, but yet they object to the transformation of even 1% of the ocean for aquaculture, whereas aquaculture production carries the lowest footprint on the environment in terms of water, energy, greenhouse gas emissions, nitrogen, phosphorus, and chemical use. So it is healthy for the environment, far more than agriculture, and yet there is this negative bias. And likewise, many people in the public, when consulted, they have a bias in terms of quality towards aquaculture products, and whenever there's been blind tests done, then aquaculture products come as equal quality or even superior to wild catches. So those misconceptions can only be reversed by strong and robust communication.
So it sounds like aquaculture has got lots of the solutions to be sustainable or even regenerative in the future, but academia and industry need to do more to communicate to the public. Is that right?
Yeah, so we need to do more to communicate to the public and also regulators, because in Europe and in Europe as a whole, then the regulatory environment is very adverse to grant licenses for aquaculture operations, and it's easier in Europe to get a license for oil and gas exploration than to get one for a seaweed farm. So that requires also educating regulators as part of the general public.
And lastly, what would be the one takeaway to the audience here in Valencia Aquaculture Europe? What's the one message you'd like them to leave here today with?
Aquaculture can be regenerative, and it can create economic capital, social capital, natural capital, and cultural capital, but we need to transition towards that model. It cannot just be aquaculture as we practice it today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Carl John Saromines, and I'm currently doing my PhD at the Institute of Agri-Food Research and Technology.
Okay, and you've just won the award for the Student Spotlight here at Aquaculture Europe here in Valencia. Can you just tell us a little bit about your presentation and why you won the award?
Well, my presentation was all about mushroom industry byproducts. As we all know, in the aquafeed industry, we are in much need of feed ingredients, and so my PhD research focuses on how we could utilize these byproducts to turn them into aquafeed ingredients, and I just presented it for 3 minutes as a summary of what I did, and yeah, and I got the award.
And that was a public vote. There was 3 students that were up for the award. You were the one that won on the vote on the floor here in Valencia. How does it feel to you as a PhD student to have won the award here at Aquaculture Europe?
Well, I feel very honored. It is much, I'm very much delighted because to be able to share to the audience what I'm doing is already a big opportunity, and to win the award, I am very much happy, and I hope that it will allow me to connect more people so that we'll be able to help more the aquaculture industry.
And just being here in Valencia this week, it's interesting how many students there are. As a student looking to pursue a career in aquaculture, what do you think the prospects are for young people in the aquaculture sector here in Europe or across the world? Is it a good sector to be in? Is it a good career to choose for someone like yourself?
Well, I'm originally from the Philippines, and I've been here in Europe for 3 years, and for the future, I hope that young generations like me will venture into a research-focused career, and not just research-based, but integrating what's the problem with the community, allowing to integrate with the industry, so that we will build a future that will address the problems, not just science-based problems, but also the problems of the community and the industry.
And finally, one of the things that we've heard this morning is about the solutions that aquaculture can provide to the world in terms of feeding the population, in terms of the economic and cultural and social improvements of aquaculture, but also there's a potential public perception, a negative public perception about the sector from people in society. What would you say to someone, what would you say to people who maybe had a negative view to convince them that aquaculture is the solution?
Well, I will simply say aquaculture is food, and as we look at nowadays, hunger is rampant and we need to provide food. And for those who are thinking that it's negative, I think that we should always think that we need to feed people, and there's nothing wrong about aquaculture, and that is why we are here, the young generations are here, to make it in a good way, in a sustainable way of producing food. So wherever they think of negative, think that we are providing food, and we are here, the young generations, to give solutions for aquaculture to be sustainable.